Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome everyone to the April 8th regular business meeting of the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees. It is 7:38. Call the meeting to order. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, once again, welcome to those, the public who's taking this lovely evening off to join us, and those watching at home. Begin with additions, deletions to the agenda.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to delete discussion item number 1, titled Content Management System Website Policy Discussion.
Okay, Mrs. Smith has offered to delete item number 1, seconded by Clerk Ranka. Any discussion among the board? All right, none offered. Those in favor of deleting action item number, or discussion item, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. The discussion item will be deleted.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to add a late agenda addition, action item number 2, which would be an appointment to the Grosse Ile Airfield Commerce Park Commission.
Okay, we have the motion to add action item 2. Waiting for support.
Second.
Okay, Trustee Budney seconded. Discussion among the board? None offered. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. That will be added. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Moved by Treasurer Vanoff, seconded by Trustee Budney. Those in favor of approving the agenda as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The agenda stands amended. Moving on to brief public comment limited to agenda items. 3 minutes, short agenda. The microphone is yours if you want to comment on the agenda items tonight. Mr. Clark, Woody's hand went up first. Remember, he's a pro at this.
Woody Clark, Park Lane. Okay, where is this place? Can you tell us that?
Where is what?
Where's the zoning? Where's
Hickory Island, the east side of Hickory Island, the East River Road portion of Hickory Island. It's all private property on a private road.
And then what do you want with it?
They want to put limitations on seafront or waterfront improvements. And I'm sure we'll have a presentation or some information. I see Mr. Leon's ready to enlighten us as to what and why, and some of his fellow residents. Okay. Mr. Leon, you look like you were ready to enlighten us, so the floor is yours.
Thank you, John Leon, 29815 East River Road. And I'm wondering if the overhead is working.
I don't know if the camera has been upgraded. We had some issues. No.
Okay, camera's not, overhead's not working yet, Angie? Nope.
I'd like to then pass these few photos around, and I'm sorry I didn't make a whole presentation.
For those who were present, you made this presentation at the Planning Commission meeting and showed your
Yes.
what it could possibly look like without this zoning ordinance.
Yeah, it was. We did make this presentation. It was approved, and of course that's why it's being voted on tonight. I'm assuming that most people have been to our island.
All right, let me take just a structural stand here. You have several residents. I assume they were all here to support you on this?
Yes.
Okay, so under Robert's rules, I could give each of you 3 minutes, or I can give you 10. And I'm going to start the clock now. But this means you're speaking for the group, John. Or if there's somebody else who wants to speak in opposition, okay?
They have some faith in me, I guess.
Go. The floor is yours.
Hickory Island has its own beach. It has its own yacht club. We're here today to preserve over 120 years. We have our 120th Hickory Island Day is coming up, in which we use our beach to have swimming events and for kids, etc. The reason why I mention these two things is that what we're asking for is to have not be allowed between the water and our homes, and also boat lifts. And I wanted to, I will, let me bring these photos up to you. First one is a before and after.
Ted, can we have the remote mic, please? But yeah, this is, and I'll hold this up. Angie, if you can zoom in on this. There aren't too many heads in the way. This is, there are two pictures here. One shows the current view for the Hickory Island residents. The bottom is a Photoshop version if you had boats spending the winter shrink-wrapped up on hoists. Is that, do I recall that?
That's
Mr. Leon, from your planning commission?
That's correct. And basically what we wouldn't be able to see Sugar Island and Lake Erie basically from our homes.
Okay. And I'll pass this among the board. And then the next one, you're showing when Hurricane Sandy hit.
Actually, what we have a great deal of difference in water heights from basically almost day to day. We can have a 4.5 foot difference in height. That picture there is a neighbor who had a sailboat tied up for a day, and water went out the next day, and he was stuck. That the next photo there is kind of a close-up, but that's my dock.
This is a high water.
That's a high water day. That's my dock with water over the dock. And these are all within a matter of days.
Okay, and then I think the next one's going to be the other side of the coin, the low water dock.
This is low water. The water has been out 4 feet past my dock, out farther than my dock. So we have to put a boat hoist in. I guess it's marginal when you can use it, and then with the water coming in, how dangerous it could be to owners of boats.
Okay, you have some figures you want to enlighten us on?
Yeah, this chart that I'm showing here is the amount of taxes that we pay per linear foot as opposed to Bayview, other parts of East River, Elba, Park Lane. I have a list of about 50 waterfront properties. We pay almost twice as much per linear foot. When I talked to the assessor the other 2 weeks ago as to why, he said it's directly because of the view. Mm-hmm. And this shows a plot. We have 42 lots that are 40 foot in width. The drain or the sewer line meanders through our property along the waterfront. So if someone were to build a pool, they could be closer to the water, they could be farther to the water. Basically, our ability for all the residents to walk up and down our waterfront, which we do, is fully open from the Grosio Yacht Club, where our first lot is, where our beach is, all the way to our last lot, 42, our last resident. We traverse that. We've had wedding parties. They have gotten married on the water side, and then they've walked down the whole neighborhood for everyone to greet them.
And well, Angie, this is, those of you who want to break out your snowshoes, your cross-country skis, residents do that also.
We ski up and down. That is a picture of what it looks in the winter, and it's very open and very inviting, and we want to maintain that for the rest of our history our company.
I have a comment to make, but it just eluded me. So any questions or comments from the board for Mr. Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Budney?
I just wondered, how What was the residents' reaction to this proposed ordinance?
I think if we were to go door to door, we'd have about 90%, maybe 92%. We do have 2 residents who have dockage. And in fact, one is, I guess, how can we say, is not in compliance. But our full board is 100% behind this. And I don't think you're going to find very many people with 40-foot lots wanting to have their whole view taken up.
Thank you.
Okay, just basing on, there's no one here in opposition, and we kind of have to, we respond to those who take the time to come in and make their thoughts known. So we seem to have, at least from the public present, unanimous support. I'll just open up to discussion among the board.
We should actually have discussion on
Actually, we shouldn't be discussing it because the thing isn't up for a vote yet. So we're taking the input, the comments, the public comments on the action item. And you've used all the time for your group. You got a minute left, John.
Please support the history of Hickory Island. It's been around 120 years. We've always had these views. We want to have another 120 years of this gorgeous island and the gorgeous views that are maintained now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Leon. Other comments from the public present on another action item? Okay, with none offered, I will close the preliminary public comment. Move on to the consent agenda. Treasurer Van Oss.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda 13-046, which includes approving the minutes of the March 25th, 2013 regular meeting, to approve the check register dated April 1st, 2013, to approve the check register dated April 5th, 2013, and to approve the time change for the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting.
Support.
Okay, it's moved by Treasurer Van Oss, seconded by Clerk Rankin. Discussion among the board.
Jim, just maybe, Jim, you want to tell them what the time change is for the ZBA?
An idea?
Yeah, there was a discussion amongst the ZBA commission just to move the time up, and then we're moving it up a half hour from 7:30. Our meetings will now, what we'd like them to do is start at 7 o'clock, just from for the efficiency for the commission itself and for the appellants who come before us.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Budney. Other comments on the consent agenda from the board? All right, with none offered, those in favor of approving the consent agenda as published signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? With none offered, the consent agenda stands approved. We'll move into action items.
Mr. Supervisor, I move to approve the proposed zoning ordinance amendments to Article 17, Waterfront Provisions, Section 17.4A, 17.4A 10, and 17.4C as recommended by the Planning Commission.
Second.
Okay, moved by Clerk Ranka, seconded by Trustee Budney.
A lot of history on this. I'll read some of it, and then I'll state some of it per the meeting. So the history is that the Planning Commission subcommittee held several meetings with the residents of Hickory Island Association. During these meetings, discussions over waterfront views and certain waterfront structures were brought to the Planning Commission's attention. As a result, on the March 18th, 2013, the Planning Commission held a public hearing on the proposed zoning ordinance amendments to Article 17. In which comments and support were received from the public. The Planning Commission recommends the adoption of the proposed zoning ordinance amendments to Article 17, waterfront provisions of the Township zoning ordinance. There's a brief findings of fact that I'll read from the Planning Commission as well, giving a few more details. Adoption of amendments to Article 17, waterfront provisions of the Groseal Township zoning ordinance. Whereas the Groseal Township currently has a zoning ordinance adopted in accordance with the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, Public Act 110 of 2006, regulating the development and use of land in the Township of Groseal. And whereas the Planning Commission has received the zoning ordinance, or has reviewed the zoning ordinance for elements in need of update to improve consistency and clarification in understanding and application and enforcement of the ordinance. And whereas a subcommittee of the Planning Commission analyzed and reviewed potential amendments to the zoning ordinance addressing addressing such instances. And whereas the subcommittee held meetings with the residents on Hickory Island, during which concerns over the waterfront views and neighborhood impacts related to certain waterfront structures, given the unique nature of development on Hickory Island land, were brought to the Township's attention. And whereas, as a result of the Planning Commission's review of the ordinance and meetings with residents, amendments to the zoning ordinance have been prepared for the following. 17.4A, parenthetically number 1, a prohibition on lifting devices in the R1EF Hickory Island single-family residential zoning district. Section 17.4A, parenthetically number 10, a reduction in the allowable light necessary or light intensity for waterfront structures in the R1F Hickory Island single-family zoning district. In Section 17.4C, a prohibition on waterfront yard swimming pools in the R1F Hickory Island single-family zoning district. Whereas the Planning Commission held a public hearing on the amendments to the zoning ordinance and the only public comments were in support of the proposed amendments by residents of Hickory Island. Be it therefore resolved that the Planning Commission of Groseal Township recommends the Groseal Township Board adopt the proposed amendments to Article 17 of the Township zoning ordinance, adopted by the Planning Commission on March 18, 2003, 5 ayes to 0 nays. A little bit more history. The R1F zoning district was set up maybe between 6 and 8 years ago by the Planning Commission to address issues on Hickory Island, specifically the East River side of Hickory Island. At the time, Hickory Island residents were burdened, or the Planning Commission felt they were burdened by having to go to the ZBA to do routine updates on their houses and garages. So we set up a specific zoning district for this section because it's very old, and B, it's very unique. So zoning ordinances around the rest of the island don't necessarily pertain. For example, typical zones like site zones. If you've got a normal wide, long lot, site zones are much less important. On these very short, very narrow lots, site zones are much less are much more burdensome to react with. So the zoning, or the Planning Commission set that zoning ordinance up several years ago, amended, and had set separate things that are specific only to Hickory Island, and again, only the East River side of Hickory Island. The other side is a newer infill development. Personally, it took me a long time to get in compliance, not in compliance, but to agree with where this zoning ordinance is set up. I'm not a fan of prohibiting anything. But at the end of the day, I think that this is the right zoning ordinance for this neighborhood.
Okay, so we're looking at this, the addendum to the R1F, the existing waterfront ordinances, and some that are specific to the Hickory Island. We saw the presentation from Mr. Leon. Been scratching my head over this one, for the last couple of days, when I first read it. First of all, the whole of Hickory Island is private property, and all the residents know they are in private property with homeowner association rules, or an association rule that presumably they're all apprised of before they buy there. They sign on, they agree they're going to comply. I'm wondering why we had to zone it separately, period, because nothing that we zone to protect the neighbors from the other neighbors' misfeasance, malfeasance, whatever. And in this case, they have a set of rules, they abide by the rules, and everybody agrees it when they sign up, presumably. Why then would the township take on the burden of enforcing the homeowner association rules? The other 4,100 parcels, again, contributing the cost of enforcing the homeowner association rules for the 47 parcels in the Hickory Island Association. But then again, I'm one of the waterfront owners, and the rest of the three of us here, and the rest of the community enforces the zoning constraints on my property. So this is not a standalone item, as much as it initially looked like. We do have unusual or unique zoning conditions that just part of the community. One part is flawed, and we'll have to figure a solution to this. I think it can be easily done on the light intensity. When you mention what wattage of bulb, unfortunately, that's referenced back to, I won't say how long ago, but R1F district maximum shall be 60 watts. We're referring to, I would say obviously, but it's not codified, of the old 60-watt light bulb. But if you put a 60-watt CFL there, that would be the equivalent of probably 200 or 220 watts of an old incandescent. So we will find a convert. There are other parts in the zoning codes that list lighting constraints. So we'll need to find a conversion factor to get that up to today's expected technology. I think with an LED light engine, they're not light bulbs, they're light engines. It'd be even, 1 watt might be the equivalent of 20. So, we do need to get some kind of equivalence and get our zoning constraints up to the current expectations. I know there's a lot of work on this. I know it's going to help preserve Hickory Island. I think there's a good bunch of folks there. So, and you put your work, you've gone through the right channels. So I will back away from the mic and let other board members contribute to the conversation.
Can I just address
Mr. Rankin?
Can I just address a couple of questions? So number one is the watts issue. That certainly came up. However, the watts are, as you indicated, they're in several other areas of the zoning ordinance. So it would be easier to take care of the wattage issue, maybe change that to lumens or foot candles or some other light intensity measurement. So that's already an action item that's being worked on for the ordinance as a whole. And it was too muddy to make it different here, but not different everywhere else. Right. So for consistency's sake, right now it's the same as everywhere else. Another issue is that the zoning ordinance was set up for this district because this district is very unique, and it was not set up to enforce their rules. At the time it was set up, they were not able to build garages that conformed with Groseal zoning ordinances, but were more than fine within their own ordinances. So the issue was they were basically having to go to ZBA, and ZBA was approving all of these larger garages. So it was a burden basically for them to have to do that. So those are my real points to address.
Okay, my initial thought was, since this is all one block of private property on a private road, again, the township's interest is easements for water and sewer and public safety, roads for the fire and police support. But other than that, they had their own rules. I'm not convinced we needed to zone it at all, but since we need the right zoning for them, and I think that's the step we're trying to make. Other comments from the board? Treasurer Van Ost.
Just a comment, I know several people that live in that area. I've received no phone calls in opposition to this particular action item. I also am concerned about necessity for the township, but I certainly understand the uniqueness of this area. So I'll definitely support it.
Okay. Other comments from the board? All right, with none offered. Those in favor?
Need a roll call?
We will. Well, thank you, Deputy Treasurer. We will do a roll call vote. Those in favor of approving the proposed zoning ordinance amendments to Article 17, waterfront provisions, sections 17.4A1, 17.4A10, and 17.4C, as recommended by the Planning Commission, will step through the roll, and I'll start with Mrs. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Posiask.
Aye.
Mr. Budney.
Aye.
Mr. Malvesto.
Aye.
Treasurer Van Ost.
All right.
Clerk Ranka.
Aye.
And Supervisor Loftus, aye. The motion carries. Moving on to action item number 2.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion that based on the recommendation of the Groseal Airfield Commerce Park Manager and the Groseal Commerce Park Commission, to appoint Jeffrey Favam to the Groseal Commerce Park Commission for the following term, April 8th, 2013 to March 31st, 2016.
Okay, moved by Treasurer Van Ost.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Budney. Discussion among the board?
I have some questions.
Mr. Posiask.
When did this application come into the township? It isn't indicated.
Mike, do you know what date it was? We've had it for a while. Month?
3 weeks to a month ago.
Yeah.
Was
Sorry, it
this the
should be
sole
on.
applicant?
What did you say, Wally?
I asked if that was the sole applicant for the
Yes.
position.
Yes, it is.
One more question,
It's 3/13/11, the date the application came in.
313.
Yeah.
And was this appointee previously vetted by your entire commission prior to
Yes.
making a recommendation?
Yes.
Thank you. Other questions, comments from the board? And maybe one of the things we needed to add into our task list, Walt, about how we're going to fill commissions and committees.
That was the procedures and policies thing that I was interested in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other comments from the board?
I just have one comment, Mike. You're going to have to bring this back a second time because you neglected to put the Brownfield Authority on there. So this will come back for an appointment to Brownfield Authority. As of right now.
Okay.
As of right now, I'm not going to change it.
Okay.
As of right now, this is just for the Commerce Park Commission.
All right, we'll look for that at a future meeting. Other comments from the board? All right, with none offered, those in favor of the appointment of Mr. Falbaum to the Airport Commerce Park Commission signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. Mr. Falbaum, welcome aboard. Thanks for volunteering your time. That will conclude our action items. Step to the clerk's report. Mr. Anka.
Mr. Supervisor, just one brief item on cost-saving measures out of the clerk's office on proposed format for publishing the minutes. And Ms. Gray, if you can walk us through this, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
I'll hold up for the camera. If Angie, if you could zoom in on this, I can get my fingers out of the way. And
During budget preparation time, every department was asked to do what they could to cut some costs. One of the things that the clerk's office investigated was the cost of publishing our legal notices, primarily the meeting minutes, which in full text can be very lengthy, and we're running approximately $150 to $192 per meeting minutes publication. So the law does not stipulate you have to publish the entire text. You have to give an accounting of the business conducted and the votes taken. So the format has been shortened to give a summary of what the action was and what the votes were on it, and what time the meeting was held, who was present, what time the meeting was adjourned. This will cut, on the low end, about $2,500 from the legal costs of publishing these minutes. And we should be able to probably even see more than that, depending on the length of the meetings and so forth.
Thanks, Ms. Gray. So really just an update on kind of why the minutes are going to be reflected differently in publication. However, still the minutes on demand, the full text minutes will be available. This is simply the minutes that get published in the paper. However, full minutes are still available.
okay. Other?
Nope, that's
That's it? That's your clerk's report? Okay, Mr. Treasurer.
Yes, for the month of February, Grosso Township had a total of $18,082,230 invested in various accounts. These accounts generated an interest income of $1,112. It's about 0.16%. The Township Treasurer's Office successfully balanced the 2012 rolls with Wayne County. We now await the delinquent settlement from the Wayne County. The Treasurer's Office is selling 2013 dog tags. They're $12, and we also have dog park passes available for $10. Our next, there's a itemized breakdown of all the investments in all of our funds available at my office. Myself or Annette will see that you have them if you wish to have them. And there's a Commerce Park meeting on Monday, 7 o'clock or 7:30? 7 o'clock. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. We'll step on to trustee reports. Mr. Posiask.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Next week, Tuesday, there will be a joint study session meeting of the BPAC and Greenways Open Space Committee. It'll be held in the downstairs conference room. Everyone is welcome to this event. It is a discussion, study, and kind of a brainstorming session to see where both committees share common goals and common problems. See if we can come up with some concerted answers to both of them. It doesn't mean that just members of those commissions are welcome. We'd love to see trustees, and we'd love to see other people in the community show up at that meeting, and I hope it gets so crowded we have to come upstairs. But that's all I have for this evening.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Posey. Ask Mr. Budby.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. We have, tomorrow is the DPS meeting. It's one of the better meetings, one of the more informative meetings that we have during the year. Prior to the meeting, late afternoon, we'll take our annual tour of the island to determine our capital improvements that we would like to do with the limited funds that we have. And then that'll be in discussion that evening. That can be anything from water, sewer, or roads. Also tomorrow, I will be attending, along with some others from the Township, a meeting of the Detroit Water and Sewer Department. They have a meeting with all the communities. It's going to be up in Troy. It's of particular importance, I think, because that department had oversight from the federal courts for the last number of years, and a couple of weeks ago the court said you're on your own. So we want to see what that's going to mean for us and for other communities now that they're out there without anybody watching them. April 23rd, 2 weeks from now, is the zoning board. Again, we have a full schedule. And earlier today, the supervisor received an email from a resident in Hawthorne Glen regarding roads and his concern with our roads. And first of all, I'd certainly encourage him to come to the meeting tomorrow night. But aside from that, roads are a very, very difficult thing for us, simply because we don't own our roads. The county does. Yet the county doesn't seem to have money to take care of our roads. So it's a definite ongoing item with us as to what we're going to do. We cannot go on just saying, well, they're Wayne County roads, we'll wait. We can't continue to wait. So we are looking at that problem and trying to come up with some type of solution, trying to do something, but it's not easy. But we do encourage certainly all residents to give us any feedback, regardless of whether it's the roads are good or, in most cases, the roads are bad. We do want to know about that, but we are working on it. And that's about it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Buddy. Mr. Malvesto.
I don't have anything this evening.
Mrs. Smith.
Thank you. Last week I had the fortunate experience of going out with Barry Sedlock and Bill Kostick to get a tour of our DPS facilities as well as our roads, and I can certainly concur that our roads are certainly in need of some repair. But it was a very enlightening experience for somebody who's new to all of this and learning how road funding takes place. This week, this week I'm meeting with Lisa Blackburn of GI School Board, and we are the co-chairs of the marketing section from what we had a meeting a couple months ago. And so we're following up, and we're going to try and put together a plan and reconvene our group so we can start moving forward. Let's see, what else? There was a good article in the Eel Camera recently in regards to the sponsorship needs for Island Fest. So if anybody has or knows of anybody who would like to sponsor some of our opportunities, please get in touch with Mr. Rooney over at the Rec Department. And also, I wanted to mention that we do still currently have a vacancy on the Festival Commission. So if anybody's interested in serving in any capacity with us, we'd love to have you. And we have two meetings, or I have two meetings coming up. Wednesday is the Communications Committee meeting at 7 p.m., and then on 4/17, which is the following Wednesday at 7 p.m., is the Festival Commission. And that is it.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Okay, my turn. Just a bunch of odds and ends. It's getting to be that busy time of year. Try to go through them. And there's flyers for many of these events in the back of the room. The Grosse High School Rowing Crew Bottle and Can Drive will take place this Saturday, April 13th, 2013, from 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. The rowers will be in your neighborhood collecting empty deposit beverage containers as a fundraiser to help support crew activities and to purchase rowing equipment. Bottles and cans may also be dropped off behind Kroger on April 13th. Again, flyers in the back of the room, and the flyer looks like this. The Blessing of the Bicycles, first one was last year. It was a lot of fun. But take place on Sunday, April 21st, St. James Episcopal Church, beginning at 1 p.m. Free bicycle check with assistance from Grosse Ile Police Department. At least we had support for that. Hopefully we still do. The blessing ceremony followed by a short bicycle ride, and the event concludes with Earth Day cakes and milk. And there are flyers for that in the back of the room, and the flyer looks like this. Again, that's a lot of fun, and there's a good bicycle safety lesson that the police department puts on for the young riders and for some of us who need a refresher occasionally. Yeah, we'll have to wear your helmet. Wyandotte Lions Club. Carol wants me to advise everyone on some of the things going on in Wyandotte. I'm hoping my good friend Joe Peterson, the mayor there, will send some interested people our way. Wyandotte Lions Club Indoor Flea Market. Some people are into this. An antique sale will be held this coming weekend, Saturday, April 13th, 9 to 4 at Yak Arena. There are flyers for that. Flyers for everything. Oh, it looks like this. May or may not be in color. Again at the Yak, North American Model Engineering Expo. Saturday and Sunday, April 20th, 21st, Yak Arena. Precision machine gas, steam, and Stirling cycle engines. Probably one person knows what a Stirling cycle is, with over 1,000 miniature models, machine tools, the one engineer, beyond display. That's going on at Yak, and I don't think we have a flyer for that one. Does that cover everything at Yak? Yes. No. The 2013 Business Lifestyle Exposition. This is a lot of fun. It's a black tie event. Will be Friday and Saturday, 26th and 27th at the Yak Arena in Wyandotte. This is put on by the Southern Wayne County Regional Chamber of Commerce. Businesses interested in business want to promote and to see what's going on business-wise in the Southern Wayne County area. That's a good place to be. There are flyers for that. Okay, I'm going to dump the junk to Mr. Clark. I'll count on you to advise us on that. The Grosse Ile, coming up for Island Fest, Grosse Ile Alliance for the Arts, 10th anniversary with the Just Ducky, and I believe there's a flyer for that. Decorated decoy, participate in the contest. The Island Fest weekend, May 31st. Then this is probably the first promo for Island Fest. May 31st, June 1st, and June 2nd. Don't plan anything else that weekend. There are flyers for that in the back of the room, and the Grosse Ile Township Island-wide garage sale Friday, Saturday, August 23rd and 24th. Sign up at grosseile.com. Call Carol at extension 210. No charge to participate. Again, I'm not a garage sale person, but those are taken very seriously. We had also, I'd like to respond to a letter to the Neo Camera. It was a well-constructed, passionate concern to move Island Fest back to Macomb Street. And there were a couple of follow-up postings. That one was in support of relocating it, thought it'd be a good idea, and another one, which is more in line with what I think should happen, is Island Fest has kind of reached its level. The letter was directed to me as the township supervisor. I can't make that decision. We have a commission, the festival commission studies those options, and if a decision is made to relocate it, to terminate it, to expand it, that'll all be done by recommendations from the commission through this board. But the one posting that I was really impressed with said, Island Fest has kind of reached its level. There are things we can do at the airport we can't do anywhere else, namely hold the the craft shop stuff indoors in case of rain. And we have room to have the expanded carnival, which we didn't have on Macomb Street. So it's kind of reached its level at the airport, but there's no reason we can't have more events on Macomb Street. And I welcome anybody's inputs on more events that'll bring more people to Macomb Street. Enjoy what we have to offer, see what Grosse Ile has to offer, bring more people into the island just to see what a neat place this is to live. My wife was at a garden club meeting this morning. The lady, I believe, was down from Troy, and she crossed the bridge and got her brief tour of Grosse Ile. Said, "You people are really lucky. This is a neat place to live." And I think we all kind of feel that way. That's why we're here. And that concludes my update. I will turn it over to Township Treasurer. Manager, Mr. Liam Dale.
Thank you. A few brief announcements. Happy birthday to Barry Sedlock and Kathy Walker. And I understand rumor has it there's another birthday today. Someone perhaps in this room.
I heard he's quite old. And I can speak from experience.
So, and the other item I'd like to report, tentatively in June and July, Supervisor Loftus and I attended an informational meeting with DTE Energy. They're going to be using the Grosse Ile Parkway truck gate. They're doing an internal repair project, and currently their internal trucks exit onto Jefferson. Their proposal at this point in time is a rough draft that there'll be a couple trucks per hour, and they're hoping it'll only be approximately 6 to 10 weeks. They're hoping probably the 8. As they get closer, they've offered to come to the meeting and give a presentation with aerial photos and details and explanations of their project. Basically, they're just going to be rerouting their truck traffic for that short period of time. And it sounds like a lot, but when you look at it as 2 trucks an hour, it doesn't seem as bad. And currently, more traffic already uses Jefferson and Van Horn. So it'll just be adding that corner. So once we get closer and we have more details, they'll make a presentation to the community. And that's all.
The good news is the man scheduling the trucks is also the one who knows the ship schedule for the coal barges, anyway, there's a term for the ships, so they cut the engine compartment off, make a barge out of it. He controls that schedule too, so he assured us we will never have traffic lined up while the bridge is swung and trucks trying to get in and out. He will deconflict that. And also public safety will keep the trucks contained within the plant property while we have an ambulance run coming off the county bridge. So DT really has a handle on this, and like Dale said, we will have a presentation, so we'll know what kind of encumbrances we'll have on our traffic off and on the island.
Nothing else, sir.
Dale, what was the starting date?
Tentatively June and July.
We didn't have a firm date yet.
I'm just thinking of the boat launch traffic, how that can line up there.
Dale, one more question.
Yes.
You brought up a rumor, but you didn't identify the victim.
Well, no one is coming up with it. I asked earlier, and no one would confirm.
Would the person having a birthday today stand up and be recognized?
Guilt by
I did. No one would confirm that. That's why I...
Happy birthday, Tom.
Happy birthday, Tom.
Okay, Mr. Sorty.
All right, with the public humiliation and the township manager's report, we'll open up to public comment. Again, 3 minutes, any topic. Mr. Clark.
Woody Clark, Park Lane. Dump to jump is 518 and 519. Legal fees? None?
There are none.
Okay, the minutes of the meeting, they'll be on the net full minutes, or can't see them all?
Full minutes.
Full minutes, so we can go to the net and look at versus the paper. Okay,
Sorry, Miss Deputy Clerk. Sorry, Mrs. Gray.
Sorry. Sorry to interject. They will not be verbatim. They never have been. They won't be. It's the minutes as they always have been and have been on the Minutes on Demand on the webpage. that will be continued in that fashion,
Will public comments be on?
exactly as they have been reported in the past.
Okay. Okay, last meeting, you talked about a person getting a raise, but I don't remember everybody getting a raise.
The motion we forwarded was for non-union management personnel was 2% pay raise.
I must have missed it, because all I did is hear was about the woman. There was one woman that was supposed to get a pay raise, and that's...
Oh, that was there's a term for it.
Confidential.
The confidential secretary for the base, Mrs. Kalidas, and there was
It was more of a promotion than it was a raise.
Okay, what does she do?
market adjustment. She is the secretary for the police department.
Ruth?
Yes.
Oh,
That's secretary for the police department.
okay. Well, I didn't understand why we got everybody a raise at 2%. A lot of money being transferred to these people, which is good for them, but to our residents who have to pay this, it's not great for them. And then when they retire, I keep banging on this, but when they retire, not anymore, they don't have it in the system, but when they retire, they get a 2% raise. So if the person is retired for 20 years, that's a 40% raise they're going to have. You know, we just keep on spoking the money, and sooner or later, what happens when the bottom drops out? Do we bring the money back? Do we take the money away? We lay off? What do we do? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Other comments from the public resident?
Woody, 1 second. Woody. Dump the junk. A little explanation, please.
What have we done?
No, yeah, you can dump everything except for TV sets, chemicals, paint, no railroad ties, no cement. Those are not our rules. Those are waste management's rules.
And there'll be boxes here on site at the airport.
Pardon?
The boxes,
We'll be at the DPS.
DPS, right, okay.
They're sitting there. Once we fill the boxes up with usually it's the brush and the trees and all the other stuff, we put it on the floor because we need the room for something else.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
There's also the possibility you may find the treasure there also. So. And I guess with that, with the fire chief being called away, sorry, Mrs. Tarzan. Mike.
Hello, there you go. I think Mr. Clark asked about the bonds for the recreation department, so I just wanted to mention that the Water's Edge, the restaurant portion, bonds will expire in 2025, and it's about $60,000 a year. And there are capital improvement bonds within the recreation department as well, and that's about $50,000 a year that will expire in 2017.
What is that? 20 what?
17.
And how much will
2017.
and how much will we be retired by then? What's the number?
The balances outstanding are $220,000 on the one that it's going to expire in 2017, and $540,000 on the one that's going to expire in 2025.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one final comment out there. We had a study session on priorities for this board, the things we want to get done. One of the things that I think I want to throw out right now is the board is interested in a new meeting start time of 7 p.m. versus 7:30 p.m. So give it some thought. Let me know what you think about that. Let your favorite board members know what they think about.
You've never been on time yet, so why start, you know?
Thank you for that vote of confidence. And we had Mr. Rooney.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out, when REP came to Water's Edge, we had a millage of $270,000. Our budget's $1.2 million. We lost $60,000 last year, so it's $6 a resident. You could look at it that way. I'm not trying to be cocky or anything. Thank you.
But those are the numbers, so now you know. Okay. Any other public comment? With none offered, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, I'm going to give the motion to Mr. Posiak.
Second.
And the second to trustee Budney. Any discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, none offered. Go blue. Ted, get in front of the camera so we can shamelessly promote Michigan in the ball game tonight. Have a great evening, everyone. We're adjourned at 8:27.